Today, we're talking about to build or not to build. That's the question for today. So should you buy an existing product, whether it's a multifamily, whether it's a single family investment property, or should you build one? There's two schools of thought for sure, and there are advantages and disadvantages of each. So we're going to talk about that. But one of the first things you have to consider when thinking about whether you want to build or buy, you have to think about your risk profile. Are you risk adverse, or are you a risk taker? Have you ever wanted to get involved in real estate development but didn't know where to begin? Do you think real estate development is only for the large hedge funds or major corporations, the big guys? Or have you done some development in the past and are looking to scale up? If you answered yes to any of these questions, then this podcast is for you. Welcome to the W.I.R.E.D Wealth and Real Estate Development Podcast. I am your host, Nick Smith. Get ready to have your mind blown and rewired as we discuss all aspects of creating wealth and real estate development. Good day, all. Good day. This is Nick Smith with the Wealth and Real Estate Development Podcast. I am your host. Want to definitely welcome you all to another episode of this podcast. Thank you all that have been supporting, that have been listening, to this podcast. I definitely do these podcasts because I really, it is my sincere desire that, people are actually getting some information, from this podcast, and people are being blessed. That's why I do it. It's definitely a labor of love, but I enjoy it, and I hope you all are enjoying it as well. We definitely want to continue to spread this message about building wealthy communities, wealthy families, and wealthy individuals through real estate development. That's what this podcast is all about. Shakespeare asked an interesting question centuries ago: to be or not to be? That is the question. But today we're talking about to build or not to build. That's the question for today. So should you buy an existing product, whether it's a multifamily, whether it's a single family investment property, or should you build one? There's two schools of thought for sure, and there are advantages and disadvantages of each. So we're going to talk about that. But one of the first things you have to consider when thinking about whether you want to build or buy, you have to think about your risk profile. Are you risk adverse, or are you a risk taker? If you are a risk averse type of person, then you should know who you are to be your most effective real estate investor. You should know who you are. You have to know who you are at the core. And one of the things that you have to definitely consider is how risk tolerant are you? Because new construction is risky. There are risks involved with new construction, and we'll go over some of those later in the episode. But you have to define, are you a risk taker? Are you willing to, endure some of the risks with new construction that may not be there for an existing product? There are some major differences, and we talked about them on previous episodes, but I'm going to reiterate because I think repetition is definitely vital to learning. One thing when you talk about some of the risks with new construction, the government involvement in new construction is much heavier. If you're looking to build a single family home, your local municipal involvement is going to be much heavier than if you were just flipping a single family house. That's just the reality of it. They're going to be much more involved with the pre-development process. For one, you're not going to even be able to start building without getting your permits. And that can take months just to get the permits to start building, but are you willing to do that? Or do you just want to find a property, flip it? Because both are real estate development. One is just from the ground up. One is redeveloping something that's existing. So you have to decide, do you want to endure that government involvement? Because that is the bigger or more high profile the project or the development is, the more government is going to be involved in it. That's just the reality. If you're just building a single family home, there are some areas in the country where they're still going to be heavily involved, even just for one home. I hear horror stories of people, building in California, and it could take, something ridiculous like 3 to 6 months or even longer than that just to get permits pulled. Have to decide, is that something you want to undertake? Not only with the government involvement, but also the community involvement. If you're looking to develop something and it's not zoned by right as what you're looking to develop, typically speaking, they're going to have to get public input. They're going to have to send that out to the public, and things can go left real quick when the public get involved. Ask me how I know, because I know. I've had developments, definitely had a development that was slated to go in one of my local communities, but the residents of that community, by right, they do have a right to say what they want to see in their community. And the residents in this community did not want to see what I had to offer. And there's several instances like that, where residents don't want to see what developers have proposed, in their community. So are you willing to take those risks? Are you willing to take on the risk of market timing? In many developments, it could take 6 months to a year, maybe even longer, 2 years. If you're talking about developing an entire subdivision, it could take 18 months. It could take 1.5 to 2 years to get that all platted out and together, to get it entitled, get it fully entitled. And in those 2 years, you never know where the market's going to be. Market could be higher, market could be lower. You never know. We saw that in 2020 with the pandemic. Nobody saw a pandemic coming. You have people out there that predict recessions and depressions and things like that, but nobody predicted a pandemic. That's just the reality. And most builders during that time, hey, they were doing great. They couldn't keep up with the demand. The demand was so high when people were looking and they were working from home and needed larger spaces. Every builder I talked to could not keep up with the demand. But that's a factor you can't bet on. You don't know when a pandemic is coming. You have no idea. So are you willing to endure the market time? And let's look at an average flip. An average flip, and I've done several flips, an average flip, you can get in and out of a flip and 3 to 6 months easily. Can take 2 to 4 weeks to acquire the property, depending on how you're financing it, but hard money, whether you're using hard money or using cash to get it, typically you don't have to go through all the red tape as your traditional financing options, traditional loans. So 2 weeks to 4 weeks to acquire the property. Then another, I would say, depending on the extent of the rehab, but we're talking about just an average, it could be another 30 to 60 days for rehab. If you have all your ducks in a row, don't be like me on my first flip. It took me a year to get out of it. But when it got toward the end, I kind of extended it for tax purposes. But nonetheless, I should have been in and out of that thing in about 6 months. But I was figuring out a whole bunch of stuff as I went. But you can easily acquire the property in a month, get a rehab 2 months, and another maybe 30 to 45 days to close it. Once it gets under contract, it is going to take some time for marketing now. So, you can easily be in and out of a flip 3 to 6 months. Some flippers even start marketing their properties before they develop a pipeline of buyers. So they start marketing before the product is even done, so they can get done with it even quicker. But new construction is definitely not going to move that quick. The pre-development phase, again, that's a variable. Depends on how fast the municipalities work. Depends on how fast your consultants, depends on how fast they operate. Once you get all of that done, then it's going to, at least for an average single family home, it's going to at least take 4 to 6 months just to build the product. Then plus now we're talking about marketing time. A lot of things can happen during that equation. There's a lot of variables. Can you tolerate that? Can you tolerate the risks, the costs, the difference in costs? Again, on the development side, there's pre-construction costs, architectural costs, civil engineering costs. You got to figure out how your utilities are going to be designed. That's one expense that a lot of people don't realize. When you think about development, utilities is huge. If it's a single family house or even if it's some type of building, okay, is it public sewer? Is it well? Or for the water, is it, well water? Is it, public water? Is the municipality bringing in the water? For sewer, is it a septic system or is it public sanitation system? All those things. And they have to be designed out. And guess what? Those take time. They take time and they cost money. And watch this. Most of the time you do all of this stuff before the development is even approved. So you can spend all of this money on plans and various pre-construction costs and still get to the point where the development does not get approved. The community can fight you on it. The municipality can say they don't like you, but that's a risk you have to take in development. Another big difference, in development versus buying an existing is how you finance the projects, how you finance the developments. I mean, there are various avenues of financing existing product. I mean, again, we talked about hard money. Hard money is basically where you have lenders that are set up to lend based off of the hard asset. So they're not lending based off of your personal profile. They're lending based off of the hard asset. They're lending based off of the deal. And there's tons of hard money lenders out there. Google hard money lender in your state and a big old list will pop up. So a bunch of hard money lenders, but a lot of hard money lenders will not touch new construction. A lot of them will not touch new construction. Why? Because it's more risk. It's more risk involved for them. It's definitely more risky. And if they do touch new construction, better believe more than likely they're going to require a higher down payment, whereas you might be able to get away on a hard money loan, average maybe 80 to even 90% once you establish working relationships with that hard money lender for an existing product. You might be able to get away 80, 90%, once you, again, has established that track record and you've been successful on some projects. But on that new construction side, they may only give you 60 to 70% financing a new construction, if they'll do it at all, because some hard money lenders won't do new construction at all. And that's what we're just talking about, the build here. We're not even talking about acquiring the land. A lot of lenders will not even lend what's called or do land only loans. They won't even do them. Because why? Because it's risky. They can lend on this lot, they can lend you on this loan, and you just never complete the project. You never complete the build. And that's risky for a lender, because typically speaking, if something goes bad from the lender perspective, if something goes bad and they get stuck with that land, it's always more difficult, more challenging to dispose of land than it is an existing product. It just is. Just is. Because again, not everybody is a developer. You can find people that want to be flippers, wholesalers, single family homes, even small multifamilies. You can find those out there pretty readily, but if you go to your local RIA meetings and your real estate investment clubs, things like that, guarantee you there's going to be a whole lot more flippers and a whole lot more wholesalers there than there are developers and land investors. There just is. It's going to be a lot more, but that is also another difference, in buying existing product or, buying land to flip. There is less competition. Less competition. Why? Because there's less developers. There's less people looking to, or less people that think they have the capacity to do development. There's a lot less people, because it is from a just procedural and process standpoint, it's easier for most people to fathom going out, buying a product, going out, buying a single family home and either rehabbing it to sell or rehabbing it to rent as a buy and hold. That's fathomable, but it's not as easy for the average person to fathom an empty lot turning into a product. It's not as fathomable. It takes a special type of person to do that. But this is stuff you have to consider. There's some benefits to building brand new product, though. There are some benefits to it. One is, again, it's brand new. It's absolutely brand new. When something is brand new, especially if you're keeping it as a buy and hold, as a rental property, whether it's a single family home or whether it's a 100-unit complex, If you're building it brand new, guess what? Those first 3 to 5 years, your maintenance costs are going to be relatively inexpensive. Your maintenance costs are going to be relatively low. And if you talk to any investor that has rental property, the biggest expense you have is maintenance costs. That's the biggest expense you have. All day, every day. Outside of course, your taxes, insurance, things like that. Certain places can use our neighboring state of Illinois. Their property taxes are astronomically more expensive than here in Indiana and some of the other surrounding states. But outside of all of that, your biggest operational expense, typically speaking, is going to be maintenance. Well, if you build something brand new, build it brand new. Maintenance costs for those first 3 to 5 years are typically going to be substantially lower. Now, there is a possibility that you put the wrong tenant in there and they can trash a brand new place and make it look like it's not brand new anymore. Seen that multiple times too. Somebody can trash a brand new property and you just literally shake your head when you walk in and say, how can somebody do this to something that was completely brand new? Bad tenant. Bad tenant can tear up an existing property or a new property. So that goes into your tenant screening process. And even you can have the best tenant screening process in the world, and somebody's going to slip through the cracks. It always does. It never fails. You have the best screening process out there. Somebody's going to get through. But also, another benefit of building brand new is it's a systematized process. Whereas when you go to buy an existing home and think that you're going to do a decent sized renovation, you might tear down a wall here or there, just do some things, upgrade some things. Well, when you tear down that wall, you don't know what's behind that wall. You have absolutely no idea what's behind that wall. You have absolutely no idea, of how well the property has been taken care of. Typically speaking, if you're buying properties that have some type of distress, whether the owner is distressed or the property is distressed, especially if the owner is distressed, they typically stop maintaining the property as well as it should be maintained. And when that happens, you never know. Case in point, I bought a flip. This was several years ago. Bought a flip. I think I bought that in around 2019, ended up selling in 2020. Another, held it way too long, but got caught in the pandemic. My father ended up passing in the middle. It was just a whole bunch of stuff. But bought this property. It was supposed to be a quote unquote, and I say that quote unquote, this was supposed to be an easy cookie cutter flip. Go in, as they say, paint carpet. That's what it was supposed to be. But my easy 15, 20,000 flip skyrocketed to 40, 45, 50, somewhere in there. I don't even remember the exact number. Skyrocketed, had to put a brand new roof on the place. And this property, I ended up even having a lawsuit against it. So we just finished that up. Thank God. But nonetheless, with new construction, things are pretty much systematized. You're going off of blueprints. Everything is brand new, and it's pretty much, as long as people follow the blueprints, follow the plans, it's a very systemized process. Now, there are on-site deviations that contractors have to make. Got to do it. No two builds are ever going to be identically the same. I don't care if they're right next to each other, the same model, same everything, same footprint, same floor plan, everything. There are going to be some deviations. It just happens, especially when you're talking about a stick-built product, because humans are building it. That's just the reality. It's just the reality of it. So you have to think about that. It's a systemized process. That's a benefit. Another benefit is if it's brand new, it should be easier to fill. And again, I say it should be easier to fill. But if you're in a area where everything is being built brand new, might not be so. You have to make your new development, whether you're renting it, whether you are selling it, you got to make yours stand out. Have to make yours stand out some type of way. Can't build what everybody else is building. If you have some of the national builders, some of your tract home builders, your Lennars, D.R. Hortons, Pulte Homes, these are large nationwide companies. They build off of a true model, a true system. So if you have them in your area, you got to think of different ways that you can make your product stand out. You got to make yours stand out. Again, whether it's rental or whether it's for sale. What are some touches that you can put in that the competition is not doing? Or you could be like me. I try to go in areas that need new construction. I try to go in areas that are not already saturated with new construction. I want to go in areas that don't have a lot of new construction, set the market, and then by the time the other builders catch on to it, it's too late. It's too late. That's my mindset. That's my philosophy. But again, you got to do what's best for you and what you think. So should you build or should you buy an existing? I'll take the political answer on that. It depends. It truly depends. Depends on your experience level, depends on your risk tolerance, depends on what financial resources that you have available. Because again, new construction is definitely going to take much more upfront. It's going to take much more upfront. So what financial resources do you have? I had my good friend Julie Holly on one of the recent episodes, and she talks about, she specializes in going out, finding funding or finding investment partners to, you put capital into real estate deals. So even if you don't have the finances, somebody may have it. Not may, but somebody does have it. You just got to connect with that person or people. You should always be in the business of connecting with people, networking, being out there. I'm taping this episode on October 30th, 3. I'm actually en route this week going to Las Vegas to attend Jerome Maldonado's Build Wealth seminar, Build Wealth Summit. And I'm looking forward to it. 110%, because I'm going to be around people that have the same mindset that I do, be around people that are trying to go the same places that I'm trying to go to, be around other real estate developers, other people. That is priceless. Priceless. Being in the right rooms with the right people is priceless. So I encourage you all definitely to do that. So should you build or should you buy? It depends. And I don't think you should do either and exclude the other one. I think it's an and situation. You should look at both. Pick the product that you want. If you want to do single family, start off with single family, which is where a lot of people start. It's on you. It's up to you. You can do single family, small multifamily, larger multifamily. And of course, you got your huge complexes. You still have industrial, warehousing. You got a whole bunch of different asset classes. So pick the one that's right for you. And decide, hey, if I want to go new construction, if I ultimately do want to go new construction, that route, maybe my first one should be an existing one. If you want to start building single family homes, maybe the first one should be a flip that needs a decent amount of work, but maybe not necessarily a gut rehab, because what happens is you'll start building the muscle. So maybe after you get a couple of those done, start going up, start leveling up your game, start doing some heavier rehabs, some things that need substantial rehab. Because the thing is, when you do, again, one of my recent guests, Corey Armand of Armand Investment Group, he was going in and buying properties off the tax sale and pretty much gut rehabbing them. When you gut rehab a property, it's pretty much like new construction. So you could benefit from those advantages, that come along with new construction. Going in, having to put new plumbing, new electrical, new roof, new HVAC, all of that stuff in there, that's a big plus. Again, it's going to cost more up front. It's definitely going to cost more up front. But start with an existing product and start leveling up to get your experience level. I would definitely never tell anybody, unless you're working with a team, unless you're working with an experienced team, unless you're working with an experienced partner, I don't think it would be wise for you to start off trying to build a 50, 100, 200 unit apartment or condo complex. That probably wouldn't be where I would start. Probably wouldn't be. But might want to start with, a single family home, a duplex, or even a quad, something like that. Start there. Get your feet wet, learn the different systems. Now, if you have construction experience, you got a leg up on everybody. You have a leg up if you have that, but a lot of investors don't start off with that experience. Don't start off with that experience. So start where you can start. Start where you can start. So I challenge anybody listening to this, or everybody listening to this, if you have not done your first flip, if you have not done your first real estate deal, let's get it done. Challenge you. We got literally about 2 months left in this year. Challenge you to get something under contract before the end of the year is out. Get a single family flip. Get it under contract. If you want to build, if you want to start there, if you got partners in place, get a lot of land in place. A lot, not a lot of land, like it's a bunch of land, but get a parcel of land that you can build a home on. Get it in place. Again, either or, you're going to have to take some risk. But one risk I don't want to take is get into the senior years of my life and regretting that I didn't take any risk. That's a risk I don't want to take. So I'm taking some chances. You have to decide, are those chances what you want to do? Is it worth it? Is it worth it? And for me, absolutely, 110%, it is worth it. And I'm going to keep moving. I'm going to keep pushing towards it. Hope you all do the same. Hope you all take these last 2 months of the year and really hone in on what you want. And let's go get it. Let's go get it. Start a flip. You got to put some people around you to help you get it done. Because right now, we still do not have enough inventory. We still don't have enough, I would say, single family housing inventory for sure, and even rentals, quality rentals. We still need them. And that's going to be there for the foreseeable future. Again, now the economy just collapses, which I don't think it necessarily is. A lot of people are, speaking doom and gloom. It is what it is. But there still is an inventory shortage. We still need more product, on the market. So again, take the risk. But as you're taking the risk, also consider, got to have multiple exit strategies in mind. If you buy a property to flip, make sure those numbers work as a rental, and make sure it works as a rental, not at current market value, but what if the market rent drops a couple $100? Will it still work? Stress test it. You got to stress test it. If you buy a property that needs a substantial amount of work, you got to risk the time versus the reward. If you got a property that needs a major overhaul, 70, 75 grand in rehab, would it be better for you to just wholesale it, maybe earn a $5,000 wholesale fee? Might work better than holding this property for 6 months to a year, maybe. Who knows? That might work better, but you got to think of multiple exit strategies. So that's all I have for today. Now, again, I definitely hope my words are helping somebody out there. Hope you all are getting the bug, the itch to get your first deal done. Let's get it done. Once you get that first one done, even if it's a little painful, the first one doesn't go always smoothly for everybody. But typically, once you get your first one done, there are some people that get their first one done and it was so bad they don't want to go back. But those are the anomalies. Those are the rarities. Most people, once they get their first real estate done, once they get their first deal done, they're hooked and they want to keep going. So that's my hope and my prayer for you all, is that if you haven't done a deal, let's get one done. If you have done deals, let's do some more. And hey, I'm a broker, primarily focused on commercial now, but I still have a bunch of residential knowledge, looking to build some residential soon, definitely be in 2024. So I'll even give my email. If you all want to even talk, I give my email and my phone number. I'll even help. I help you decide which route you need to go. Feel free to email me at Nicholas, NICHOLAS .Smith, SMITH at CB, as in Caldwell Banker Realty.com. Again, that's Nicholas.Smith at CBRealty.com. And you can even reach me on my cell number. It's area code 219-805-2857. Again, 219-805-2857. Sometimes you need somebody to bounce some ideas off of. If you're interested even in investing in the Chicagoland market, let's talk about it. And when I say Chicagoland, I'm talking about Chicago and all the suburbs in Illinois, plus Northwest Indiana. Let's talk about it. Again, thank you all for joining me again on this episode. Do encourage again, as always, please like, share, subscribe, even comment. Let me know what you like, what you don't like, what you want to hear more of. Because I want to definitely serve you. My objective is to serve you, the listener. So again, this is Nick Smith with the Wealth and Real Estate Development Podcast, signing off. This is another episode. Let's go get wired up. God bless. Thank you so much for listening to today's episode. If you enjoyed it, please share this content with someone else who would benefit from it. I'm looking forward to having you with me on the next episode. Now go out and create some wealth and real estate development.